Sam Elliott called out Hollywood's woke agenda, and they're losing their mind.
This is a whole new, things can be done differently now.
There's new generations of kids that don't even know what a guy on a horse looks like.
The legendary cowboy actor is fed up with what he calls the woke agenda that's taking over the industry, twisting the Western myth into something he barely recognizes. From glittery chaps to delicate cowboys who look more ready for a Vegas show than the open range. He's seen enough. Hollywood's obsession with political correctness, he says, is destroying the true spirit of the American West. So why does woke culture silence free speech and punish anyone who dares to think differently?
And I thought, what the f?
What does that mean?
This is the guy that's done Westerns forever.
For his whole life.
The evisceration of the American West. I mean, they made it look like, what are all those dancers, those guys in New York that wear bow ties and not much else?
Uh-huh.
Remember them from back in the day?
Oh, the Chippendales?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sam Elliott isn't mincing words when it comes to his thoughts on Hollywood's latest portrayals of the American cowboy. He's got a bone to pick with the so-called woke culture that seems to be taking over, turning tough Western icons into something they were never meant to be.
That's what all these cowboys in that movie looked like.
Uh-huh.
They're all running around in chaps and no shirts. There's all these allusions to homosexuality throughout the movie.
Yeah.
For Sam, it's like Hollywood's completely forgotten what a cowboy is supposed to represent. Grit, honor, and that tough-as-nails attitude that built the West in the first place. Instead, what we're getting now, according to him, is a watered-down version that cares more about pushing political correctness than telling a good, honest story.
But I don't know how I fit in here. And he said, I was watching The Big Lebowski last night, and he said, I just want to see more of you and the dude together. So it's like, what?
Take The Power of the Dog as an example. To Sam, this movie is the perfect illustration of how Hollywood has lost its way. He sees it as nothing more than an attempt to eviscerate the myth of the American West, turning cowboys into overly polished, unrecognizable figures that don't resemble the real men he admires. In his eyes, the movie is more focused on ticking the boxes of a woke checklist than capturing the real spirit of the cowboy lifestyle. He's watched as movies like this one take on forced political narratives, and he's not shy about saying how much it rubs him the wrong way.
I can only speak of the men that were in my life, and that was my dad and his friends.
Right.
Those are the men that I grew up going fishing and, spending time with.
Yeah.
And they were all pretty hardcore. They were gentlemen. I mean, they weren't assholes. They were nice men, but they were hardcore. They were hard-working men.
For Sam, it's personal. He spent his life around cowboys, real cowboys who don't waste their time strumming banjos and decorative chaps. These were hard-working men with families, steeped in traditions that had nothing to do with bending to modern trends or fitting into politically correct molds. Hollywood, as he sees it, has stripped away the honor of the cowboy, dressing them up in outfits that belong on a Vegas stage rather than the open range. Instead of celebrating that rugged masculinity, we're being served a version of the cowboy that's all style and no substance, a hollow shell of what the cowboy myth once stood for.
But what does this woman from down there
New Zealand. Right.
know about the American West? And why in the does she shoot this movie in New Zealand and call it Montana?
We used to have fun with it. We'd insult each other and laugh and scratch with it. And it was not a bad thing. People didn't take themselves that seriously.
Sam Elliott, Clint Eastwood, and Kurt Russell have teamed up to take a stand against what they see as Hollywood's forced political correctness. These guys have had enough of seeing good stories twisted and bent out of shape just to fit some agenda, so they're fighting back. They formed what's being called an anti-woke actors union, and the message is clear. They're here to remind Hollywood that Westerns, and really all good storytelling, don't need to be compromised by political narratives.
I think there's an issue that people aren't talking about with gay marriage. There's a lot of things that they beat around the bush with.
For these veteran actors, it's about bringing authenticity back to the big screen. They're tired of seeing Hollywood sacrifice genuine, straightforward stories just to appease a woke agenda. According to them, the industry has gone off the rails, tossing out the values that once made movies great. Clint Eastwood has been vocal for years about how political correctness is strangling the life out of the entertainment industry, and Sam Elliott has made it clear he's right there with him. They believe that forcing political messages into every script is damaging the essence of storytelling and alienating audiences who just want to watch something honest and real.
That fucking rubbed me the wrong way, pal.
Yeah.
And the myth is that they were these, macho men out there with the cattle.
Yeah.
I'd just come from fucking Texas where I was hanging out with families, not men, but families.
Yeah.
Sam Elliott didn't hold back when it came to the power of the dog. He's downright baffled by what he saw on the screen. In his eyes, this movie completely missed the mark on what it means to be a cowboy. Instead of the rough, tough, and gritty men he's known his whole life, the power of the dog serves up a version of cowboys that looks more like they belong on a Vegas stage than out on the range. Sam even went so far as to compare them to show performers in glittery chaps, and he's got a point. In his words, this wasn't a cowboy film. It was something unrecognizable, something that had traded in authenticity for forced agendas.
There's all these allusions to homosexuality throughout the fucking movie.
Yeah.
One of the things that got under Sam's skin the most was how the film presented these cowboys. They're portrayed as delicate, almost like they're afraid to get their hands dirty. He's used to seeing cowboys who are all about hard work, dirt, and sweat, not one strumming banjos and woolly chaps. But wait, when Jane heard of this, she clapped back when she said,
"Look, what can I say? I'm sorry, he was being a little bit of a bitch."
But was Sam really wrong though? To him, this portrayal goes against everything the cowboy represents. It's like Hollywood's taken this strong, self-reliant character and turned them into something completely emasculated. Sam has seen plenty of cowboys in his day, and what he saw in The Power of the Dog didn't line up with anything he recognized. It's as if the film wanted to erase the idea of the rugged cowboy altogether, replacing him with a version that fits into a woke narrative, rather than capturing the truth. Although Sam Elliott did get hate for his comments, many people were quick to back him up, like Matt Walsh.
Of course, people were very upset about his honest opinions because he was asked about his opinion of the movie. But just because, as we've learned, just because you're asked about your opinion of something, that doesn't mean that you're actually entitled to give your opinion. What they want to hear is you repeat the accepted opinion and pretend like it's your own, whether it is or not.
The man was just spitting facts. The fact that The Power of the Dog wasn't even shot in the American West was like adding insult to injury. Hollywood decided that New Zealand, with its stunning landscapes, was a good enough substitute for Montana. To Sam, this was another slap in the face to the authenticity of Westerns. How can you tell a story about the American West when you're filming halfway across the world? It's not just about the scenery, it's about the spirit and the history. Filming in New Zealand might give you a pretty backdrop, but it's missing the soul of the American landscape.